Greetings, everyone. This is Cassandra Floyd, also known as the daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And I'm here today, as I am, or try to be, every day at 5 p.m. to do our reading of our newest book, which is Greetings, Beatrice, which is the most recent book, Pure Lust by Mary Daly. It's called Pure Lust, Elemental Feminist Philosophy by Mary Daly. Pure Lust, Elemental Feminist Philosophy by Mary Daly. This book, greetings, sister friend Beatrice. It's been too long. It has been too long. So this book, baby, since we open the first page, every time we read, greetings, Eve, every time we read, this book is kicking ass and taking names. Kicking ass and taking names. So for those of you who might be new, I miss you too, Beatrice. So for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, have not heard me read anything from this book, Pure Lust by Mary Daly, I'm not going to give an overview, but what I will say is that Mary Daly, I bought all of her books, every book she ever wrote, because she was referenced in the first book that I read live online to you guys, which was The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth by Barbara Moore, illustrated by Monica Zhu. And I'll show you that book. And so I have been diligently trying to purchase slowly all of the reference material from this wonderful, wonderful, game-changing book. So this is the first book that I'm actually reading all the way through that was source material for The Great Cosmic Mother. Baby, this book is gangster. It is awesome. It is game-changing. It was written in 1983 by a woman named Mary Daly, who has since transitioned. She transitioned, I believe, in 2010. Mary Daly, though, a little short background about Mary Daly is that Mary Daly was a PhD theologian. She went to seminary school. She majored in theology, got her PhD in theology, and then came out of that mess. She said, let me go on up in here like I'm a robber. You understand? Like I got an imaginary ski mask on, stick up everybody for the information, and then come out here and put y'all women on game. Because, baby, she did that. Okay? This book. Somebody just called me before I got on the phone with you guys about this book. She was like, I just got my book. She said, this book. I said, I know. Not only is it just an extraordinary piece of literature, it's like every time I open this book, every time I read to you guys from this book, there is something that is like this massive confirmation. Greetings, Letitia. It is like a massive confirmation of something. Now look, I tell y'all all the time, this is how the web works. This is how the web works. This is how the grand tapestry woven by the fates unfolds. You understand? And baby, this book is doing just that. So for those of you, this is your first time listening to me read from the book Pure Lust. We've been reading this book now for about 2 weeks. I would say it's going to probably take us about 2 to 3 weeks to finish the book. I read every day at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are tuning in from YouTube, be sure to subscribe. I still need about 220 subscribers before I can start monetizing my page. So if you are not tuning in via YouTube, if you are tuning in through IG, Facebook, or Twitch, I encourage you to log into my YouTube page, which is at Daughter of the Fates, and watch this live from there, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And with that being said, that's pretty much the housekeeping. We are going to begin today with the reading of Pure Lust by Mary Daly on page 192. For those of you who have your book, we're on page 192. We are the second paragraph down, the section called Exercising Possessed Powers. One such power who divined her genius was Emily Bronte. As Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goober have shown, Emily Bronte was a, quote, practitioner of mystical politics, and Wuthering Heights is a rebelliously topsy-turvy retelling of Milton's and Western culture's central tale of the fall of woman and her shadow self, Satan. As they point out, she had a tough, radically political commitment to the belief that the state of being patriarchal Christianity calls hell. The state of being patriarchal Christianity calls hell. Greetings, Jai. Calls hell is eternally and energetically delightful. Whereas the state called heaven is rigidly hierarchical, Eurozenic, and as kind as a poison tree. Emily Bronte understood the mechanisms of reversal that govern Sado myth and Sado society. Greetings, T, Asia, Carlotta. In Wuthering Heights, Catherine is imprisoned, tamed, and trained by prostituted powers at Thrushcross Grange, which represents patriarchal heaven, and the state of grace into which Catherine falls after existing in the truly wild and graceful state, which Christians would call the state of sin. In the heaven of patriarchal society, she is reduced to a role, a walking costume. That wild genius, Emily Bronte, comprehended deeply the horror of constriction of female powers to the imposed order of the heavenly pathways, and described these processes by which this order is established. Moreover, she detected the Sado-subliminal politics of patriarchal myths. Greetings, my Amy. Patriarchal myth decoded its messages and reversed its reversals on the subliminal level itself. In so doing, she realized the potency of her genius and engaged actively, creatively, in battles of principalities and powers. In the tradition of the Brewster's Bronte, Virginia Woolf, Webster Gage et al., wandering wanton women are releasing elemental powers. As we do so, we are forced to confront the fact that within philocracy, women are commanded to act as powers who hold down female elemental powers. We are charged by the bureaucrats with the responsibility of being our own worst enemies. The precepts of prickers prescribe that we preside over our own genius and that of other women, taming it, keeping it on the heavenly pathways, calling it evil, crushing it, tracking it, and concealing it. We under orders to rule the evil spirits ourselves. This is manifested within the Sado society everywhere. Mothers have been delegated to maim the genitals of their daughters in Africa and Arab countries, to mentally mutilate their daughters in the United States and generally throughout the world. Women are used in pornography to degrade the image of women. Token women in the patriarchal professions are paid to hold down truly original female powers in themselves and in others, imposing man-made order on the heavenly pathways. The impotence of the patriarch requires that they pervert the powers of women in these ways. Within the feminist movement, listen, y'all, within the feminist movement, women are obliged to confront this order of demonic self-destruction. Shit. Listen, within the feminist movement, women are obliged to confront this order of demonic self-destruction, which is destruction of the positively demonic self. Indeed, the pathology, the evil, is often experienced to an intensified degree within this context. Women becoming aware of the powers and genius within women and of the threat that this poses to the ontologically impotent patriarchs often believe that danger is posed to them by the existence of deviant, defiant women who are naming the enemy more and more clearly, more coherently, more contextually, and more uncompromisingly. Yet, the real danger is the self-censorship, which is the mental knee-jerk response to a message subliminally embedded in our psyches by the fixers. The perverted, masterminded message that tells us, hold down all female power. To the extent that she has failed to exercise this power-punishing embedded reflex, a woman, even one who has become associated with feminism, can function as possessed power, censoring the archimage within herself, obstructing those more creative and daring than she feels able to be. Oh, y'all ain't heard? Yo. Oh. Listen. She said, to the extent that she has failed to exercise this power punishing embedded reflex, a woman, yes, even one who has become associated with feminism, can function as possessed power, censoring the archimage within herself, obstructing those women more creative and more daring than she feels able to be. In this way, women who have identified with feminism in a foreground fashion are delegated, seemingly self-appointed, to kill the feminist demons. Oh, shit. In the society of pseudo-sublimation, pseudo-feminism is also sado-feminism, the father's final solution to the problem of female being. Oh, shit. Oh, my gosh. She's saying under too many circumstances, this deeply embedded knee-jerk response that we have to other women's right to be on their own terms has caused us, even those identifying as feminists, to serve the father child in our holding down, in our mistreatment of, in our horizontal violence against liberated women. Oh, shit. She said that. Oh, my God. The adequate response to this travesty is, on one level, simple to name. It is feminism. In the patriarchal world, there is an ineffably destructive dislocation of consciousness. As Emily Culpepper has stated, there is a primal distortion at the heart of consciousness. Since this dislocation depends upon keeping women as the primordial other, the model for all other others, the transformation must come from women who radically reject this otherness and who move on to knowing ourselves as truly other and acting accordingly. Feminism in this radical sense is realizing reason, and it is realizing elemental potency. In this true and radical sense, feminism is a verb. It is female being, unlike pseudo-feminism fabricated by the fathers, which is a thing, a reified state. Feminism as realizing its constant unfolding process. It is and was inevitable that women who conceive of feminism as a thing, a state, would come at some point to believe themselves to have moved beyond feminism. But if one understands that feminism means feminism to mean the radical ontological process of realizing female elemental potency, one does not move beyond it. One moves with it. Feminism is a name for our moving and movement into meta being. Given the conditions of the Sado state, The moving that is feminism requires overcoming the possessed powers, engaging in battles of principalities and powers, baby. This battling is our great exorcism, and it is also our ecstasy, for it is the claiming of our principalities, the naming and actualizing of our powers. That is, it is creation, and it brings us to the entrance of the realm of pyrospheres. For womankind must once again rediscover fire. Greetings, facts don't care about your feelings. Yes, my name. Come on, preach a word. Preach a word. Greetings, Frank. Okay, so now we are in chapter 5. This is the next section of the book called The Second Realm, Pyrospheres. Chapter 5, Foreground to the Second Realm, Plastic and Potted Passions and Virtues. So you guys remember that I told you at the beginning of every chapter, she has the one word with two definitions, the Webster's Dictionary definition, and then her redefinition. Okay, so Webster's definition of pyrosphere: a hypothetical spherical zone of molten magma that is held to intervene between the crust of the earth and a solid nucleus and to supply lava to volcanoes. Pyrosphere, according to Mary Daly, a spiraling zone of molten passions that permits passage between the surfaces of elemental female being and the inner cauldron core, and that supplies emotional energy to Brewsters. Okay. The foreground conditions that block the entrance to the pyrospheres must now be faced, for these are intended to hamper the force of our furious fire. Oh, the dispassionate, aggressive tactics of phallic lust block ontological passion and virtue. This is achieved through religion, science, amusements, all of the professions, especially the therapeutic professions. Just as reason and memory is muted and mediated, so also are passions and virtues. Women realizing reason need to develop a potent analysis, a vigorous exercise of reason concerning the meaning of passions and virtues. Passions. The perversion and dulling of women's passions by the fixers, flashers, framers, and frauds of fatherland is a tactic accompanying the blocking of reason. I have chosen the word passion rather than the more modern term emotion to name the movements within the soul that express deep fire and desire, as well as the counterfeits and stunted varieties of these. Moreover, I have chosen medieval naming of the passions as a springboard for elemental naming of them. For there is a refreshing vigor, clarity, bluntness, and complex simplicity, and that analysis that is lacking in contemporary psychobabble. This translucency is helpful for rendering the background of passions accessible, that is, for the discovering of deep elemental passion, which I will name emotion. Emotion designates that fire which moves women out beyond the foreground and its fatherly fixes into pyrogenic ecstasy. To provide an aid for Furies unleashing this fire, I shall outline briefly some aspects of the traditional theory of the passions. First, passions were understood to be movements of a faculty known as the sensitive appetite, which tends towards the good and shrinks from the evil as perceived by the senses. Listen, I want y'all to listen to this section here because I read it already last night. You feel me? And I remember how damn deep it got. So pay attention. This shit is deep. Hold on, there's a word I need to look up because I couldn't pronounce it. Okay. Letitia, do me a favor and Google a word for me. Letitia, do me a favor and Google this word for me. I'm gonna type it in the chat. It is concupiscable. Child, I could not pronounce this shit to save my life last night. Concupiscable. I guess that's how you freaking pronounce it. Concupiscable. Let's see. Concupiscable. I have not even ever heard that word in my life. But Google it because it's going to come up about 20 times in the next few paragraphs. So Google that word for me and tell us what it means. In the meantime, let's see. Okay, so it says first, passions were understood to be movements of a faculty known as the sensitive appetite, which tends towards the good and shrinks from the evil as perceived by the senses. Okay? Essential to this analysis is the idea that passions are caused by something that is perceived. They are movements rooted in knowledge and are not static, inexplicable blobs of feeling. Okay? Okay, I like this word. Okay, for those of you who are tuning in through IG, concupiscable, I guess that's how you pronounce it, is filled with sexual desire. It is lustful. Concupiscent dreams. Okay, all right. I like this word. Now I know. Filled with sexual desire, lustful. Let's go ahead and write that down. Oh, there's another word I need you to look up, Letitia. It is IRASCIBLE. 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 Look that one up. Okay, we like that word. Filled with, what does it say? Filled with sexual desire. Okay. Filled with sexual desire. Lustful. You like it. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, I need a class on this book. Ooh, these books are just so good. True. I'm gonna start the book club next Wednesday for this book, just so y'all know. So go to the Great Cosmic Mother book club on my Facebook page, because that's where I'll be making the announcement. We're gonna start doing the book club every Wednesday night. Okay. Having or showing a tendency to be easily angered. Fascinating. All right. This is good. All right. Okay. Let's get it moving. So, okay. Second, there are 6 basic passions. I love this section. Y'all gonna see why in a minute. There are 6 basic passions, which are said to be movements of the concupiscible part of the sensitive appetite. The concupiscible part has its object sensible good or evil, simply apprehended as such, which causes pleasure or pain. This is the more basic part of the sensitive appetite. It is the seat of the most fundamental inclinations to seek what is suitable according to the senses and to fly from what is hurtful. The passions of the concupiscible power are distinguished according to the opposition of good and evil. Thus, love, desire, and joy tend to the good, whereas hate, aversion, and sorrow tend away from the evil. Love and hate are related as opposites, inasmuch as they express the most basic harmony with what is perceived as good for the organism and the most radical disharmony with which is perceived as bad for the organism. Desire and aversion are a pair of opposites, since desire is a movement toward absent good and aversion is a movement away from absent impending evil. Joy and sorrow or sadness are opposed, since they are responses to the good and to the evil that are present. Third, there are 5 passions that are said to be movements of irascible or irascible of the irascible part of the sensitive appetite. These are necessary since the soul must experience difficulty or struggle at times in acquiring some such good or in avoiding some such evil. The irascible part has as its objects good or bad as arduous, through being difficult to obtain or avoid. Thus, hope and despair are passions in opposition to each other. Both are being concerned with the good. Listen, y'all. Listen. Okay, I'm gonna start back with the third part. Third, there are 5 passions that are said to be movements of the irascible part of the sensitive appetite. Okay? So y'all said the irascible part is prone to outbursts of temper or easily angered. The irascible part of the sensitive appetite. These are necessary since the soul must experience difficulty or struggle at times in acquiring some such good or in avoiding some such evil. The irascible part has as its objects good or bad as arduous, through being difficult to obtain or avoid. Okay? Thus, hope and despair are passions in opposition to each other, both being concerned with the good that is hard to obtain. Hope, the good that is hard to obtain, as long as this is perceived as possible of attainment, there is a tendency or movement toward it, which is hope. When the good is perceived as too difficult or impossible to attain, there is a shrinking from it, which is called despair. Yo, are y'all following me? Are y'all following me? When the good is perceived as too difficult or impossible to attain, there is a shrinking from that good, child. This shrinking is called despair. Oh my God. Similarly, fear and daring both are concerned with the arduous evil. Considered as evil, this has the aspect of something to be shunned and thus elicits fear. Y'all ain't walking with me. But it also contains a reason for tending to it, as attempting something arduous, whereby to escape being subject to evil, and this tendency is called daring. Finally, there is anger, which has no contrary passion. This is a quote. For anger is caused by a difficult evil already present, and when such an evil is present, the appetite must needs either succumb so that it does not go beyond the limits of sadness, which is a concupiscible, which is a concupiscible passion, or else it has a movement of attack on the hurtful evil, which movement is that of anger. But it cannot have a movement of withdrawal because the evil is supposed to already be present or past. Thus, no passion is contrary to anger according to the contrariety of approach and withdrawal. The medieval, end quote, the medieval scholastic philosophers studied these 11 passions in some detail, as well as combinations and interconnections among them. The stark simplicity combined with the logical complexity in their analysis offers the possibility of a fresh beginning, a leap behind and or ahead of the mire of muddled therapeutic jargon into which nearly all contemporary discussions of feelings seem to sink. I am not saying that this analysis can simply be taken as it is and applied to women's situation. But the merit of this analysis is that it has sufficient clarity to make the naming of agents possible if it is used as a tool by shrewd women. Indeed, it's our own inherent logic. Its own inherent logic requires the naming of agents and of objects. Using this instrument, pyronomic thinkers can work to attain and regain earthly elemental wisdom about the passions. At any rate, we can aspire to breaking set, time traveling, and seeking to formulate our own way of understanding the passions that is not tracked and trapped by the limiting parameters of popular and professional psychology. We can aspire then to the attainment of our own pyrosophy, knowledge of the nature and properties of fire. Yes, my name is yes. Women are held back from the attainment of pyrosophical wisdom, not only by the withholding of information, but also by the stopping and stunting of our passions. We must understand this, for deep emotion is needed for realizing reason. Real passions are movements within us, and they move us. They are essential to being as verbs. They are recognizable as having specific causes or objects. Thus, love, desire, joy, hate, aversion, sadness are passions that have nameable causes. So also hope, despair, fear, daring, and anger are words that can name true passions. This listing, derived, as we have seen, from medieval philosophy, is accurate enough to initiate an Amazonian exploration of passion and emotion. If we hear the words with emotion, if we hear the words with our third ear and see them with our third eye, that is, in ways that apply to women and that surpass the intent and comprehension of the philosophers whose texts have incorporated and incarcerated those terms. In contrast to such truly moving passions which connect our process with the movements of the elemental world, there are pseudo passions which are the listen, okay? In contrast to the 11 mentioned, you understand? In contrast to such truly moving passions, which connect our process with the movements of the elemental world, there are pseudo passions, which are the products of patriarchy, which paralyze women, containing and concealing our fires, our true desires. I have discovered two species of these. To name the first species of pseudo passion, I will coin the expression plastic passions. The second species will be referred to as potted passions. Y'all ready? Plastic passions are those blobs in inner space which preoccupy and paralyze their victims, predominantly women, draining our energies, perverting us from the pursuit of pure lust. They are unlike real passions described above, which are movements, verbs, and which are emotions connecting one's psyche with others and with the external world. In contrast to real passions, plastic passions are free floating feelings resulting in more and more disconnectedness and fragmentation. Since they are characterized by the lack of specific and nameable causes, listen, yo, since they are characterized by the lack of specific and nameable causes or objects, they must be dealt with endlessly in an acontextual way or within a pseudo context that is fabricated by the fathers of pseudopsychology and other priestly professions. The plastic passions, moreover, are endless in this sense that they cause those whom they infect and infest to feel deprived of purpose. Y'all ain't listening. Of purpose, end, and final causality. Whereas genuine passions or emotions move the woman experiencing them out of the fixed framed state. Plastic passions stop her dead. They function to hide the agents of her oppression and repression. Plastic passions are restored passions, which have been converted from verbs into things. They are thingified, reified passions. Since they have no perceivable causes, they function to serve the mechanisms of blaming the victim. Oh my God. The following list names some of these unmoving, paralyzing feelings. Listen. Oh my God. The following list names some of these unmoving, paralyzing feelings: guilt, anxiety, depression, hostility, bitterness, resentment, frustration, boredom, resignation, and fulfillment. These feelings exist, of course. Women do feel them. In this sense, they can be called, quote, real. Indeed, plastics too exist and we can feel them. However, like plastics, these feelings lack natural wildness. It is my contention that they are man-made feelings, that they are products of fixocracy. I would sustain the thesis that they are sickening substitutes that poison our powers, preventing true emotion. They fail to connect our process with the context of elemental reality. Those whom they infest can be nervously neurotic, but are hampered from being potently pyrotic, from burning down from burning down the bastions of bureaucracy and flying free. Oh my God. Yo. She said the reason they hamper our goddamn fire is so we don't burn this bitch to the ground. The whole section is about what? What's the name of the section? The second realm, the pyrospheres, relearning and rediscovering fire, baby. Did she say, what is the reason for the creation of all these new emotions that are that don't have no origin, so they can't ever be solved? Don't have no relationship to anything in the real world. It just like plastic, yeah, they exist. We can feel them, and we can touch them and shit, but they have no connection to our natural wildness. What purpose do they serve? To infest and infect us so that it can hamper our natural being of potent pyrotic behavior that would have us burn this bastion of bureaucracy to the ground and fly free. That's what she said. Oh my God. Y'all, this book. Oh my God. Plastic passions then have many names. Often, however, they have no name. They are then nameless to the woman who is experiencing them. This namelessness and apparent unnamableness function to prevent women from potently naming and therefore changing their situation. So let me stop here for a minute, because this thing keeps coming up. So big part of this book is about taking over our control of language. The opening up of the throat chakra, the mastering, the naming and renaming of all phenomena, so that we can now break, what she call it, exercising the female consciousness, break the curses cast on humanity by words. You understand? So that we can name and identify things so that we can change the shit. So my homegirl called me today, like I said, an hour before I got up on the call with y'all, and we were talking about this whole the whole book is about, mastering language, etymology keeps coming up everywhere, whatever. And we were reading, I think it was this section because I put a note in here. In this section where I'm talking about these diseases, right, these emotions, and I don't know why, but when she was talking about here, the namelessness and the apparent unnamableness function to prevent women from potently naming and therefore changing their situation, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of this story that I read in the Bible as a kid about Solomon. And I was like, oh shit, I'm about to have to go read the whole book of Solomon again. Because for some of you, I know you ain't going to remember, but what was the big story about Solomon? The story of Solomon, one of the big stories of Solomon was that he was given a ring, right? The Bible said an elemental ring that gave him power over demons. But he had to be able to know the name of the demon in order to control the demon. And each demon controlled an element in the environment. You hear me? Each demon that he had control over controlled an element in the environment. And when he got this mystical, magical ring that could control the elements as demons, and him having to call the name of the demon in order to control the power of the demon, what was the first thing that he did? He used the power of the demons to build his temple, his most sacred temple. I was like, I gotta go revisit this story because it came up for a reason. She's talking about emotions. How I get to Solomon? Because of the naming and being able to wield power through the knowing of names. Every horror movie that you see about some demon or some devil, or even an exorcism, when you see a movie about this dude and he got to exorcise some demon out of some kid or some shit, what he say? I got to know, tell me your name. Tell me your name. Every time you're talking to the demon, tell me your name. Because it is a wink back to this story about to control the thing is to know its identity and to be able to speak its name. Y'all, this situation was acknowledged to some extent in the 60s by Betty Friedman when, in The Feminine Mystique, she discussed the problem that has no name. The problem that has no name. The housewives she interviewed and the millions more whom they represented believed that there must be something more to life than the supposedly fulfilled lives they were enduring in quiet desperation. But they had no idea what that might be. Instead of being able to move and act purposefully, they could only confusedly feel and deny their nameless problem floating within them. In the 80s, millions of women are in a similar situation, for the 80s are at least as repressive as the 50s and early 60s. However, there are differences. For now, there is a recent tradition of feminist writing and activities, a feminist culture, that is largely, although not entirely, inaccessible to the majority of women in the United States and in other parts of the world. Even the advantage of partial accessibility of this tradition is blunted by the plasticization of the feminist movement, its reification into a thing controlled by the media men and other professionals. The situation might be compared to the propagation of information concerning the need for natural foods, combined with the selling of unnatural foods labeled natural. One consequence of this situation, now listen, did you hear that last sentence that I just read? That sound like today? Sound like 2023 and not 1983 when this book was written? She said, look, even the advantage of partial accessibility of this tradition is blunted by the plasticization of the feminist movement, its reification into a thing controlled by the media men and other professionals. Listen to this. She said the situation might be compared to the propagation of information concerning the need for natural foods combined with the selling of unnatural foods that are labeled natural. Now, do that sound like that was written in 1983 or 1923? I mean, 2023. One consequence of this situation is that many women believe that they have had the option of feminism and that they have rejected it with full knowledge and consent. Another consequence is that some have bought the plasticized product while believing that they have become feminist. In both instances, plastic passions are reinforced with the deceived women's psyches. The possibility of moving is blocked. Yet there are many other women for whom the memory, the hope, and the fact of real movement have not yet been destroyed. And in subterranean ways, this movement has expanded and intensified. The way out of the plasticization of feminism is identical with the escape from possession by plastic passions. For true feminism is movement, just as true passions are movements. The process of naming is essential to this breakthrough beyond problems that seemingly have no name. Such naming is basic, and at the same time, it requires the most subtle and clear-headed analysis of which we are capable. For even women who, having seen through much of the masterminded mediation, continue courageously on the journey of feminism, often become enmeshed in seemingly unnameable feelings. Yes, Asia, yes. Yes, let's see. When one has avoided or managed to get beyond traditional roles and other pitfalls, it can be puzzling to encounter again, though in less familiar forms, the all too familiar internalized demons. Plastic, yes, my name. Y'all listen, y'all coming in with these good ass comments. Ooh, Letitia. Girl. Letitia. That's genius shit. For those of you tuning in on IG, the homie Letitia says, the Goetia is such a major thing used by males in many spiritual circles. Is this why they have to put a ring on a woman's finger to seal her energy? Oh shit. Yo. Plastic pseudo-passions are the products of patriarchal processing. In the 19th century, Matilda Joslyn Gage wrote of the materialization of the materialization of spiritual truth by the Christian church. Analogous to this is the plasticization, the unnatural materialization of inspiriting passion by patriarchy through all of its institutions. Yeah, Letitia said that. Okay, listen. The plastic passions are unnatural knobs, snarls of the spirit. Just as the Father's lies are mind bindings, just as the Father's lies are mind bindings, these feelings are will bindings. that twist the movements of women's appetites in upon themselves. Instead of spiraling outward, these snap backwards, strangling the victim. Instead of experiencing emotions that are her living threads of connectedness with external and internal reality, the paralyzed prey is fixed in the foreground, disconnected from elemental movement. Elemental movement. So she experiences only elementary emotions, those foreground feelings that she cannot really name. It might be objected that I do claim to name some of the plastic passions in the listing printed above. My point is that these are by their nature, or rather by their pseudo nature, not adequately nameable by their victim. For the woman possessed by a plastic passion cannot name its agent or its object. Indeed, it does not have easily identifiable agents or objects, for it is a snarl of petrified passions. It stops the woman from emotional breathing and ultimately can cause her spiritual and physical death. I'm not saying that she cannot use the right labels as labels go. She may say, I feel depressed, anxious, frustrated, bored, etc. But this is not naming. For naming is a verb that evokes, and that is a process of active realizing. Since plastic passions are not ontologically elementally real, that is, since they are not movements of being, they are not realizable. Rather, a woman realizes her true passions that are being choked by these synthetic substitutes, and this process frees her from the lethal fix that is freezing her. The vast difference between emotion and pseudo-passion then becomes tangibly understood. A woman then recognizes that when she experiences real anger, that is rage, when a woman experiences real anger, that is rage, at her oppressor or suppressor, she is moved to action by her rage. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. Listen now. Oh, dang. She said, a woman that recognizes that when she experiences real anger at her oppressor or suppressor, she is moved to action by her rage. She is moved to action. That's how you know it's a real emotion. She is moved to action by her rage. She sees that in contrast to this, if she is merely frozen in states that can accurately be labeled as hostile or bitter or resentful, she is not moved to act. Oh, God damn. Did y'all hear that? Oh my God. Oh shit. This shit is so deep. This shit is so deep. Because when we was talking on Lotus Flowers, when Lotus Flower interviewed me the other day and she talked about righteous rage, this is what she's talking about right here. She said rage warrants action. She said, but when somebody is using, quote, what she call it, plastic passions to subdue you, to freeze you in time. Listen, she said when a woman recognizes that her experiences that cause righteous rage at her oppressor or suppressor, her knee-jerk response, her righteous response is to move to action, is to be moved to action by that rage. But then in the contrast, if she is beaten, bludgeoned over the head, merely frozen into states because she is labeled hostile. What did I tell y'all that Trick said to me when I went dancing the other night? Why you being so confrontational? Remember that? Like somehow I'm wrong when she the aggressor, when she the transgressor. She said, look, when you label hostile or bitter or resentful, You cannot be moved to act. You turn in on yourself like there's something wrong with you. She sees also that the agents of snooldom are constantly trying to convert her rage. That they constantly trying to convert her rage into plastic by labeling it as hostility, bitterness, and the like. It's the ultimate gaslight. It's the ultimate gaslight, T. Yes. Yes. She said. She also sees that the agents of snooldom are constantly trying to convert her rage into plastic by labeling it hostility and bitterness and etc. They work to label it out of existence, your rage, converting it into these plastic passions by the bad magic of verbigeration. She sees also that these sickening substitutes are blended with anxiety, depression, guilt, frustration. The furthest that she can move with this package deal is to resignation. The furthest that she can move with all these labels levied against her with this package deal of bullshit is to resignation. And as Simone de Beauvoir has written, there is hardly a sadder virtue than resignation. My God. Yo. There is hardly a sadder virtue than resignation, you guys. I would suggest that there is possibly something sadder, however. That is fulfillment. Shots fired. Fulfillment is the therapeuticized perversion of the passion of joy. A fulfilled woman is one who is filled full. Oh my God, y'all. Oh my God. Oh, listen. A fulfilled woman is a woman who is filled full. She is a vessel, a stuffed container, her condition being comparable to that of a wild animal that has been shot and stuffed. Fulfillment is defined as, quote, the act or process of fulfilling, execution. Listen, this is the etymology of the word. This is the definition of the word. Fulfillment. Quote, the act or process of fulfilling, execution. End quote. Oh my God. It also means the quality or state of being fulfilled, completion. A fulfilled woman has been executed and is therefore completed. Oh my God. She is finished. Oh my God. Listen, y'all. Fucking goddamn. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen. Fulfillment is defined as the act or process of fulfilling, execution. It also means the quality or state of being fulfilled, completion. A fulfilled woman has been executed and is therefore completed. She is finished. Having spent her life in the fixer's flashers, framers, finishing schools. She has nowhere to go or grow. God damn. The image of the fulfilled, finished woman is fixocracy's final solution for the wanderlusty Webster who pursues her final cause, her own deep purpose. Oh my God. Listen. Oh my God. The fulfilled woman cannot live the emotion of joy, for this means moving. Nor is hers a clear case of sadness, for this also is movement away from present evil. Rather, she is, in fact, depressed, pressed down with the weight of what fills her, kills her. As one woman has remarked, a depressed woman is a perfect tool of patriarchy. Oh my God. Listen. A depressed woman is a perfect tool of the patriarchy. Holy fuck. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because of her frustration and low self-image, she craves romantic love and marriage, religion, professional help, alcohol and pills, and all kinds of man-made things. God motherfucking damn. Oh, shit. Shit. Listen, she said a depressed woman is a perfect tool of the patriarchy. Because of her frustration and low self-image, she craves romantic love and marriage, religion, professional help, alcohol and pills, and all kinds of man-made things. She lacks the energy to fight back or to move ahead and has an insatiable need for male approval. She is listen, she is psychically impotent. Y'all ain't hearing. Oh my motherfucking God. Ooh, shit. She is psychically impotent. Oh my God. In her novel, The Story of an African Farm, Olivia Schreiner describes this fulfilled condition through her character Lyndall. Quote, "We, as girls looking in the mirror, see the complexion we were not to spoil, and the white frock, and we look into our own great eyes. Then the curse begins to act on us. It finishes its work when we are grown women who no more look out wistfully at a more healthy life. We are contented." We fight our sphere as a Chinese woman's foot fits her shoe, exactly as though God had made both, and yet he knows nothing of either. In some of us, the shaping of our end has been quite completed. The parts we are not to use have been quite atrophied and have even dropped off. Oh my God. Ah. End quote. God damn. Ooh. Oh my God. Listen. The analysis here of fulfillment and contentment is accurate and hardly can be written off as applicable only to the 19th century. The inadequate alternative to this confined, resigned state is depicted as the passage continues. Quote, Sharita, yo, listen, continues, quote, but in others, and we are not less to be pitied. They, the parts, have been weakened and left. We wear the bandages, but our limbs have not grown to them. We know that we are compressed and chafe against them. But what does it help? A little bitterness, a little longing when we are young, a little futile searching for work, a little futile searching for work, a little passionate striving for room, for the exercise of our powers, and then we go with the drove, end quote. Here, Schreiner has summarized what might be called the plastic alternative to fulfillment. While only bitterness is named explicitly, also clearly implied are the whole demonic crowd: anxiety, depression, guilt, hostility, resentment, resignation, frustration, boredom, actu infinitum. Through Lindell, however, Schreiner offers a vision of transcendence of the plastic alternatives through passionate analysis and action. This is perceived, though dimly, by her childhood friend Waldo. Quote, Waldo looked in wonder at the little quivering face. It was a glimpse into the world of passion and feeling wholly new to him. End quote. It is a world of passion and feeling hardly new to feminists, for it is the seeing of and through this dilemma of impossible alternatives that is the very core of feminist movement. Cutting through both the myth of fulfillment and the plastic alternatives to this is basic work of labors wielding lusty movers. The hope of healing lies in the pyrogenetic passion of unfulfilled women, women who are unexecuted, incomplete, and unfinished. As unfinished women unfulfill ourselves as of pseudo passions, we find room of our own, room for movement, for passions that are contagious. Yes. Whoo, shit. That are contagious, that fuel the fire of other furies. Honey, look. That fuel the fires of other furies. Such pyromagnetic politics of passions are essential for passage into the pyrospheres. In some areas, there appear to have been movement backward among feminists in the 80s. In the mid-70s, at a women's concert, the performers' rap about alcoholism would have some power of political analysis. The message would be, don't let the man drive you to drink. Oh my God. In the early 80s, often this was replaced by therapeutic confessional. Oh my God. Y'all ain't ready. In the early 80s, often this was replaced by therapeutic confessional rap sessions in which the musician proclaimed, I have a drinking problem. In these cases, no agent has been named. What? Listen. She said at least in the 70s they was truthful about the song. Don't let a man drive you to drink. She said in the 80s that shit was turned in on self. I have a drinking problem. In these cases, no agent has been named. And then the ultimate endearing has been to proclaim oneself sick. Since women have always been discouraged by the fathers into such confessional self-descriptions, which hide the agents and the causes of their situation, y'all ain't in church. Come on, y'all ain't in church. Come on. Act like y'all up in here. She said in the 70s, under the feminist ideology, at least they would hold a rock concert and the song would be about alcoholism, but there would be some form of political analysis. The bitch would say, look, don't let no man drive your ass to drink. But then something happened in the early 80s. That message was replaced by therapeutic confessional rap sessions. Now you proclaim that I have a drinking problem. And in these cases, you ain't named no agent. You ain't named the cause of the problem. You understand? She said, all you have done is proclaimed yourself sick. She says, since women have always been discouraged by the fathers into such confessional self-descriptions which hide the agents and hide the causes of their situation, the predictable response elicited is bonding in victimhood. Bonding in victimhood. What y'all call that shit now? Trauma bonding? Trauma bonding, that's what y'all call it now? Honey, in 1983, she said, listen, bonding in victimhood. The glue that holds the victims together being a conglomerate of past plastic passions. This recipe is unlikely to produce self-identifying bonding, just as naming passions involves identifying the agent and object of this movement, so also an adequate naming of feminism requires naming the stoppers as well as the direction of this movement. All else is therapy, psychobabble, therapy, self-hatred, therapy, futility. She went the fuck in. She went in. I'm going to stop there tonight. She went in. She said in the 70s, at least they had the common sense to say it was the man's fault. Oh my God. She said, naming the stoppers as well as the direction of this movement. All else, anything outside of naming the cause, anything else outside of naming the one, anything outside of naming the agent is nothing. She said, everything outside of that is what? Therapy, psychobabble, therapy, self-hatred, therapy, futility. Baby, she went off. She went off. T. Oh my God, T say she read me tonight, baby. She read all of us. Okay, everybody got read tonight. I told y'all every time I crack the spine of this motherfucking book open, I'm getting gut punched. I'm getting kicked in the chest with mule hooves. You understand? Get my jaw jacked and shit every time. It ain't, listen, every time I crack the spine of this book open, I'm getting my ass handed to me. She like, bitch, I'm talking to you. Child, you think you done arrived? You think you know some things? Let me put you on game real quick. Baby, when she talk about, listen, what she say over here that had me fucked up in the game? Hold on, what she say over here that had me fucked up in the game? This little section right here had me fucked up in the game. Because what I'm always telling y'all, I like a boo. You feel me? I'm human. I need touch. I need my booty rub. You feel me? She said, bitch, get that shit out your motherfucking head. She said, get that shit out your head. She said, as one woman remarked, a depressed woman is a perfect tool of the patriarchy. Because of her frustration, I be frustrated. Because of her frustration and her low self-image, I done been there. She craves romantic love and marriage, religion, professional help, alcohol and pills, and all kinds of man-made things. She lacks the energy to fight back or to move ahead and has an insatiable need for male approval. She is psychically impotent. Lord, y'all. Listen, she making it plain. Outright butt naked. She like, look. Do you know what she's saying here? In just this one little section. When she talking about plasticized passions, and the sole purpose for them is to entrap our natural inclination to burn this motherfucker to the ground, to use our righteous rage as the necessary fuel to change systems. You hear me? You know what she's talking about in this little section? The frustrated woman, the low self-esteem woman who craves romantic love and marriage and religion and professional health and alcohol and pills and all these kind of things that distract you from what is truly making you ill. What is truly making you ill is the state of the world, baby. What is truly making you ill are the circumstances that the majority of human beings on this planet are forced to live and struggle and suffer under. This is what makes every woman on earth ill. And we call it everything but what it is. When she talk about right here, at least in the 70s, they had common sense to say, the reason I drink because this man ain't shit. You feel me? Don't let no man drive you to drink, girl.
That's my Halloween costume.
Don't let this man drive you to drink. You feel me? That's what she said. She said, but something happened.
Yeah.
And now it becomes the thing that we turn in on ourselves. Now, everything that's wrong is something inherently wrong with us in our perception of the world. So all we need to do is talk therapy. All we need is some medication. That you are not right in the head because there's something wrong with you, not with your environment, not with the society, not with the world. Baby, she went off. On this mic, she went off. She went off. She went off. Patriarchal and spiritual circles, it really strips women. That's its purpose. That's its purpose, is to strip women of their political power, of any power. Baby, she went off tonight. So that's what we're going to end tonight, because I still got this interview that I'm going to do with Sister Letitia this evening at 9:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And she and I are going to be talking about the fantastic, phenomenal, hidden role of exotic dance in the worship of the goddess. You feel me? We're going to be talking about a little bit more than that, but that is the overall structure with which this conversation is going to unfold, because we also going to be talking about sacred prostitution, the history of, the reverence of, the need to rebirth, regenerate the whole culture of sacred prostitution. Yes. Why women who are in sex work? Yeah, we going live. Fact that don't care about your feelings. We going live at 9:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to talk about there's exotic dance, sacred prostitution, all that. So join me. Join me again tonight. It was an amazing read. I appreciate that. I know I get sidetracked sometimes, but listen, this book, who was it that said, listen, wait a minute, who was it that said you got read? Child, I think we all got read tonight. Hold on. Yeah, we all got read. Listen, TC, yeah, she read me tonight. Facts don't care about your feelings here. She ate and left nothing on the table. Facts. Oh yes, facts don't care about your feelings. She said, "Yo, I stopped listening to the music of the masses earlier this year. Changed my life." Facts. As a matter of fact, child, look, y'all. Yeah, facts. I need to make a playlist and put it in the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence group on my Facebook page. There's a sister who did this. Y'all need to get hip to her. Who did this album? I think in 2016. I was just googling the word Sibyls. And when I also put it in a search engine on YouTube, and you can listen to her old album on YouTube. It's called Sibyls. The name she calls herself is Sibyls. Okay, so just Google Sibyls on YouTube or on your Google search engine, and she has a whole album that she put out in 2016. I listen to it every day. It's witchy. It's interesting, you understand? And I'm here for it. I love it. It's a sister. So check that out. Sibyls, or the Sibyls. Check it out. Yes. Okay. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and break out so I can have enough time to chillax, get myself something to eat, chill a little bit before I do this live again at 9:36 tonight. So I'll see y'all then.